Welcome back to the Homeschool Advantage podcast. I'm your host, Bex Buzzy, and today's guest is Houlie Duque, CEO and founder of homeschooltogo.org. Homeschool to Go is the only holistic and bilingual homeschooling program in the world. The focus of Homeschool to Go is to raise conscious, confident, and independent children in less than 10 hours of weekly homeschooling. Yep, you heard that right. And to provide educational tools and develop each child's unique potential, and to be a worldwide educational alternative that supports the formation of these independent individuals. In this episode, we talk about when you homeschool, you get to slow down your entire family's rhythm and be more present in the moment. And I love the way Houlie explains it. Listen carefully to her words. This woman is wise. We also talk about research on homeschooling, how it shows that the home educated are doing more than just well, typically above average, on measures such as social, emotional, and psychological development, thereby kicking the myths in the butt. Lastly, how homeschooling will increase your whole family's quality of life. Go grab your coffee, go grab your tea, and a pen and paper, because you're really not going to want to miss what Houlie has to say. Let's get into the podcast. Houlie, say hello to our guests and tell us, what is the misconception you feel most have about homeschooling?
Hello, thank you for having me, Bex. There's two misconceptions that I feel I hear the most when talking to parents that are going or considering homeschooling. The first one is that it's so overwhelming, it's going to take over my life, it's such a big responsibility to go into. I always say, as one of the advantages of homeschooling is that you are going to slow your rhythm down and you're going to have more freedom in your lifestyle. So if you do know how to do homeschooling right, which depends on like the resources that I'm sure we'll have an opportunity to talk about those do's and don'ts eventually in this conversation. Homeschooling should slow down your life, so it should not be overwhelming. And then the second one that I hear a lot is that my kids will be antisocial. So it's funny that that is such a popular misconception, because research actually shows that home educated children are typically above average in matters of social, emotional, and psychological development. And this is because when children go to school, like think about our lives, you are never really in a real situation with all people of your same age in any space in life. Like usually you're with older, younger, and it's more of a, when you homeschool, you're more exposed to natural environments of where you would find people. So when you go into a school where all of you're outnumbered by your peers rather than your guides, what happens is that the purpose stops being about what you're going to learn and it starts being about who's going to fit in. And so kids that are too little and go into the school system and at very young ages, when they don't really have solidified their values because they're still in the process of doing that in their families, they start to worry about fitting in before they have their values. And that ends up making them more stressed and more anxious when it comes to social situations.
Houlie, come on, girl. Wow. You just dropped some value bombs. I think we got to give parents a second to process that. That's awesome. Man, I never even thought of it that way. You're absolutely right. It's a whole different paradigm that they're going into. They're not really, wow, man. So you have an amazing program and, thing that you're doing with Homeschool to Go. What inspired you to create this content? And like, was the homeschool community a community that you were looking to, work with, or did it just happen organically as well?
I'll say it was very intentional. When I was a teacher for many years, like you, and in that experience, I found that no matter how hard I worked and how much I loved my students, I was always cut short. And it wasn't a matter of how good your teacher is, but more a matter of how the system is set up. that I always knew when I had my children, in order to give them the absolute best education. And mind you, I was working and I also had the experience of going to a private Cambridge school, which is, it's very high standard of quality when it comes to education. So even though I had access to some of the best resources and I was, educating or some of, very high profile children, like families, I found there was still more to be done because of that customized education that can't happen in a classroom and that parent involvement that was so important. So I always knew that I would homeschool. And so to answer your question, that's what inspired the home to for me to start homeschooling. And so when I was seeing that my child was approaching, actually when I had my child, I started when when I was pregnant with my child and I birthed him, I realized I have 5 years until I have, he's kindergarten age. I want to be able to have something that I am happy with. And I started researching homeschool programs and I couldn't find something that would adjust to me. And I knew that I was very much capable of creating it. So I said to myself, I have this goal of creating that dream homeschooling setup for my son and then sharing it with others. So I started doing it then. And now 2 years later, 3 years, almost 3 years later, we do have a beautiful community that is a dream come true, but it was very intentional, I should say. It wasn't
That's
something that just happened overnight.
that's awesome. So take me through it. What is it that you guys work on? How do you support the homeschool community and parents?
We're a very holistic program. Right now, we are the only program that is holistic, meaning we cover all of the subjects and more, like mindfulness, connection to nature, and like all of these holistic aspects, emotional development, as well as bilingualism. So we're the only holistic and bilingual program. So instead of finding like a Spanish class within our program, what you're going to find is the entire curriculum in English and then the entire curriculum in Spanish. Because as a mom who's in North America with a but is Latina, I wanted to make sure, and I knew also from being bilingual that the best way to learn is through immersion. So rather than teaching Spanish as a subject, I wanted children to be able to learn it as a mother tongue. And the way to do that is to completely immerse. So I did it in both. And so our program offers all of that. The things that I saw in my experience, I worked with Montessori Waldorf, and I found that the determining factors when it came to success in a child's education were project-based learning. So like all the best models in the world, the best educational models in the world, Cambridge, Waldorf, again, Montessori, which are my three favorite, are using that project-based learning. It means taking hands-on lessons to teach your kids life applicable concepts. Then the second one was customized education, which means the person who's teaching is actively listening to the child. So you are molding the learning to the child and not the other way around. In the school system, what you have to do, because you have no choice, is you have to mold the child to the program because you have too many kids to take care of at the same time. But the customized education, not only is it more effective with neurodivergent children, but also more effective in general. It makes the child want to learn more. And then the third one is parent involvement. I found the most, you tell me if you think this happens in your experience. The brilliant child always has a very involved parent or both parents in their, like they just have so much advantage in front of the other kids that don't have that. So my goal was to, with this program, make it so easy for the parents. Like, here are the resources, here's your rhythm, here's how we fit all this learning into your life. We take care of the accreditation, we take care of everything so that you can just play with your child. And instead of calling this work or homeschool, we call it quality time. And so more and more where I hear from the families that use our program is it's so nice because it feels like we're just laughing through it. We're playing along. Like, I don't have to be the teacher, sit down and do this. I can just be like, let's watch this story. And we just like both enjoy it from the perspective of like friends and family and quality time. So does that answer the question
I
of
love that answer. I love that answer. Oh my gosh.
Thank you.
It almost reminds me of like the Suzuki method, but you doing it in like your whole entire homeschool. Because Suzuki method has the parents and the kids learning instruments together, where they learn how
Okay.
to do music together. And you just like, you
Oh,
kind of just we're learning together and we're having fun together. I love that. That is really cool. So that probably really helps with a lot of kids who have learning challenges and even the ones who are gifted. And yes, I do agree that when the kids' parents are together, that child has so much more of an opportunity. All my students who are excelling really do have parent involvement. And I don't mean like, hey, did you do your homework? That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about
mhm.
the parents are legitimately in there. Like, hey,
Yeah.
why don't we go through your work together? Why don't we see what you've done? Not micromanaging and being involved, two different things. So
Yeah.
yes, I agree with you 100% over.
There is something so like deeply subconscious about like when you're a child and you want to impress your parents because you want to be loved and you want to feel included. And when you feel like your parents are backing you up, they're interested in what you're learning, it boosts your confidence. And confidence has a big impact on your performance, like in life in general. I find when I walk into something with confidence, chances increase in whether I'm going to be successful or perform better. And this is the same for children. Like when you have parents that are your cheerleaders, and this is also something that I coach parents through in my program, and how to give that feedback and how to become involved. Um, their children just flourish because they believe. My parents believe in me. I must believe in myself as well, and so
It definitely it increases everything because then you're able to take more risks and you're not afraid of taking risks because you have
yeah,
somebody to
exactly.
get and what is success? It's taking risks over and over again. And if you
Mhm.
don't make it, you know what I mean? You pick yourself back up when you have people who are going to be like, "Yeah, get back up." You will
Yeah,
keep getting back up. That is
yeah.
awesome. So, Huli, tell me, where can people find your resources? Where can they go to connect with you, to, just maybe even register for your courses and everything? Where can they go to find you?
Yeah. So if you go to homeschooltogo.org, and it's to go like TOGO, like actually spell the whole homeschooltogo.org, you'll find my website. On there, I offer a free class. So this is not like a class for the child, but more like a workshop for the parent. So it's like the 10 best or the 8 best secrets in homeschooling, or the mistakes that most parents are making. So that should get you inspired and set up with a bunch of really good tips to get started. And then through the people that register for my class, I give a limited amount of private sessions to the people that are like interested in taking part, like joining our community. So that is one way of joining. And then another way is participating in our pen pal programs, which we run twice per year. Is usually the people that come in through our pen pal or our workshop that I then consider into the admissions process.
It's awesome. And I'm looking at your testimonies right now. One that really touched my heart says, Homeschool to Go has given me permission to live the family life I always craved. That just makes you want to cry at that very moment. The holistic learning and the strengthening of a bond far beyond what I could imagine. That's just, oh my goodness, that touches me in a deep place because that desire to connect with your child and have your child connect with you. And I do believe it's these years that are, not by anyone's fault, but a lot of people think that, this is the natural way to go to public school or to go to a school away
Mhm.
from your parents. But what you and a lot of people who have, these these programs and this curriculum, which I love because every parent can find where they fit, you know what I mean? Where they want to be and you are helping them build their family relationship. It's huge that the dynamics of their family is forever different, like forever different.
Right. I really like when you talk about something being natural. So we use a lot of nature analogies in our education because I really do believe that the mechanics of nature are the most exemplifying when it comes to balance in life. And so one thing that we use is the rhythm, the family rhythm. So like you think about rhythm, we teach rhythm in our curriculum, and it's like your heart has a rhythm, your life has a rhythm, right? And so one of the first things that I do with the moms or the families, the parents, is we look at the rhythm of the family. We're not trying to turn your life upside down. The way that your life already is, we can look at that rhythm, and we can see where with the least amount of resistance we can inject learning moments. And so it's just about having the right resources to make sure that you can adapt the curriculums to your family. Because a lot of people think like, oh, I'm homeschooling, I'm downloading a curriculum, and then I'm supposed to make my family fit into this curriculum. And I think that's where a lot of homeschoolers go wrong, because you're doing school all over again at home. The advantage of homeschooling is that you're no longer having to make your child fit into unnatural structures. You actually can just make learning happen in your life intentionally.
Wow. And then you're creating a
So
lifelong learner and a kid who knows how to learn in any situation.
exactly,
Wow.
exactly. Like
Wow.
imagine if we had all children that didn't feel like learning is a chore, but rather than, oh, like let's like I get so excited because the kids in our community are such, like they have such thirst and passion for learning, and they are the ones that at one point it gets to one point where they're telling their moms and dads like, I want to learn about this, and their parents just feel so proud that they, and this is so common within the homeschooling community, like when parents are involved that way, um is how it is, like the fire, the drive for learning never really stops. And what you were saying about that testimonial, it really touches my heart as well, because when I started this program, I wasn't looking to, okay, let's help parents reconnect with children. No, and like essentially deep down without realizing, that was also my desire. Like I want to raise a child that I'm so deeply connected with, that they come to me when they have issues going on at school. You know what I mean? And anyway, but I just was thinking of how to craft the best possible learning experience for my child. And when we started putting it out, and families started trying it, and I started asking them, what did you find? Like I was really trying to understand what was my value proposition for building my business. And what the parents were saying was how the connection, how it went to a new level. And hearing that to me was like unbelievable, because that's what I deeply desire in my heart as well. So yeah, I think it's beautiful to see there can be an association between your relationship with your child and the education that you're offering them.
I love that. As we're wrapping it up, Huli, what is
Mhm.
one big takeaway you want parents to get from our conversation today?
Um, I guess something that we've been talking all the way through, and it's that like anything that you teach with your heart will be transmitted. Like homeschooling doesn't have to be an experience that you force, like if it ever gets to the point where you're homeschooling and you feel like you've lost the fun of it, know that you don't have to do it that way. Like there is a path that is more enriching, that is less resistant, that you can reach with your children. It can be easy, fulfilling, enjoyable, and a lot of families are doing it, and you can do it too. Like it really, like we're kind of programmed into thinking that things that are beautiful in life come from work and hardship, and that's not really true. Like beautiful things can come from pleasurable experiences, and that's what we need to bring back learning into that space of pleasure and curiosity and discovery.
Awesome. Huli, it's been so great having this conversation with you. Man, I've learned so much today. Thank you so much for coming
Thank
on and
you.
just sharing everything you have to offer.
Thank you. It's my pleasure. It's my pleasure, honestly, just having this conversation with you, and many other conversations that we've had before leading up to now, and how our views are aligned. Thank you so much for bringing me in contact with your audience, and helping me reach more people with my passion.
Awesome. If you love the conversations we're having here on the Homeschool Advantage podcast, follow or subscribe our podcast to stay in the loop and never miss this amazing content. And please highly consider taking a minute to leave a positive rating and review to help others like you discover this show. See you next time.